Hey everybody, welcome to a bonus RotoWire video streaming episode here. This is a live stream of the NFFC Beat Jeff Erickson draft. We're not going to do a whole lot of reads or anything. We're just going to talk ball here. So it's a little bonus episode for you here. I will play the intro right now, though. All right, welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Football Podcast. This is the Beat Jeff Erickson Draft live stream. I'm Jeff Erickson. He is Joe Bartel. We're both in Vegas right now. We're at Circus Sports, and we had a very successful run at Radio Row. I just did a football panel. It was a great time, hosted by the great Mike Palm. That was super fun. We've been doing a bunch of VSiN segments, a lot of podcasts, Sirius XM shows. Joe, you just did the Sirius XM RotoWire show from the Fantasy Studios at the Wynn.
Oh my gosh, it could have been better. Myself and Jim Coventry did the Saturday shift, and the live studio was fantastic. I've been privileged enough to be a part of like the PTI set. We were part of the cheerleaders at the end of the show.
Nice.
We got to watch that live. I've been on ESPN's new studio at least back in 2015 or 2016. Those were all really cool. I thought the Wynn studio, especially for what it was for our Sirius XM show, was fantastic. It was really great, and everyone we got to work with was wonderful too. So I had such a blast, and I've had a blast this whole trip. We've had a lot of content, maybe not as quality sounding as we would like. So apologies to me to add on to that with the no microphone for today. But we're doing a live draft and making sure that Jeff can win the $250K, which you're splitting with me, right? If that happens,
I'll give you a chunk.
Okay, that's all I need.
You can hear the thump, thump, thump techno music in the background, too, from Stadium Swim, I hope, too. So everybody can get that experience the joy I feel when I'm trying to take a nap, because I'm old and I need naps. That's the joke. But we'll see about that there. I am drafting from the 6th spot in a 12-team league. It is third-round reversal. There's 3 receivers and a flex here. 6 points for a passing touchdown. You can win your league. And if you beat me in this league, you're in the league and you beat me, you get a free RotoWire subscription as well. And there's, of course, also there's an overall prize, the $250,000 grand prize for winning the overall RotoWire Online Championship if you win that as well. So that's one thing to keep in mind when you're doing this draft is that there's part of your entry fee goes to the overall prize.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately for us, Alan Sozowski's draft, which took place maybe 2 weeks ago, already had the winner. There was some absolutely crazy ADPs in that, and I think Alan was able to benefit tremendously from it. So hopefully we can at least get you to second place, and I can go third. I'll be fine with that. There's still some nice payouts in that event. So let's make that happen, Jeff.
All right. Let's go. Let's go 1-2 here. Alan can finish second.
I already see people in the chat who are participating live in your draft. Thankfully, at least one of the people is picking 11. So the advice that you're giving theoretically won't impact one another, or we'll talk about it after the fact. But it'll be great. And I know I got my boy Uncle Ted in here who loved Roschon Johnson last year. So I will always refer to Uncle Ted as Roschon Johnson guy, and that is for the worse. So we'll get to hear his takes as well throughout the show. I'm looking forward to all of it.
Yeah, it should be fun. There's some veterans in this draft, including some of the guys are saying I can show their teams if they want, so it's pretty cool. You can see on the screen right now we've got the public-facing version. There's a lot of people that want to kind of protect because they don't want people to see who they're on, and I totally respect that. So I might refer to them during the draft, if with permission, but otherwise, I am Team 6 here, just so people realize. I'm pretty much an open book. Everybody knows that. I have no problem sharing what I'm doing because I talk about it every day in multiple platforms. So that's and people actually listen. It's amazing. So I don't have much to hide there. But I am hoping to get Breece Hall or Bijan Robinson at 6 and then go running back hero. But I anchor running back, whatever you want to call it, but because that's the format, the style I'm most comfortable drafting, but I can go a lot of different ways. And I like being in the middle of the draft. I think it's a good way to go ahead and be able to take what the draft room gives you. We are starting right now. I'm intrigued to see who's going to be number 1. It's not always Christian McCaffrey. That's kind of one of the interesting things about this draft season. It is Christian McCaffrey here, though.
which to me isn't all that surprising. I'm completely comfortable with McCaffrey going number 1 overall, and I would probably do the same even in this format. So,
yeah, Tyreek Hill goes number 2. And the funny thing about, okay, so you're not sure about McCaffrey at 1, but a lot of your pivots also have some uncertainty. There's of course, CD Lamb and Jamar Chase are holding out right now. Amon-Ra goes 3. We have our first curveball.
And did Allen buy another slot into this draft? I feel like he's got 15. He's all over Amon-Ra St. Brown, I feel like.
Yeah. I was thinking that was going to be an option for me. I mean, he's a pretty safe pick. I get it. In a time when there's so many others that are unsafe.
Yeah, and your voice is cutting out a little bit, Jeff. I'm not sure if you've ran into the internet thing that I'm talking about, but I had Travis Kelce 2 years ago, number 3 overall in mine, and I guess it was 2 years ago at that point, and of course he got injured. But the safe pick isn't always the safe one, and I think for this kind of format where you're trying to win the overall tournament, yeah, I completely understand why you'd want to, but give me the upside, give me the home runs at least in the first round. Not Devon Achane, Jeff, not Devon Achane.
Yeah, well, I got Breece Hall. I'm very happy. He's my 1.1 actually in my latest set of rankings. So I'm very happy to get it there. I miss out on the top tier receivers, obviously, but that CD Lamb went 1.5. It would have been a tough call, Hall versus Lamb. It was made for me though.
Yeah, we've talked about strategy now over the past, 72 hours, both on podcast platforms and just at dinner. We're all crazies in that sense where we just keep going with it. And the guys that are available in the mid-second, I've been talking to more over the course of this trip, whether it be Pacheco, certainly my guy, Josh Jacobs. I think even to a certain extent, Derrick Henry, which would be all above ADPs for most of these people. That means that I can't take Breece Hall if I'm fine with it. So the CD Lamb and then one of those running backs is probably my preferred one. But I agree. I mean, there's nothing wrong with Breece Hall at number 6. That's a layup as well.
Yeah. By the way, Jamar Chase slipped all the way to 9. I'm partially responsible for that because I took Breece Hall, but nonetheless, Eddie Gillis, who said he could reveal his picks. He's a veteran player. He gets Chase. He gets to buy the dip there. Whew. I'm pretty happy if I get that. That is useful.
Yeah, AJ Brown goes 8. Normally that tier 1 through 8 has Chase in that equation. Jefferson for a while was number 8 of that group, where the running backs were. So I'm not surprised entirely. I have long maintained, and I still will, that 1 through 8 in some shape or order is significantly more valuable than the 9 through 12, and certainly that 12 spot. I just hate drafting there right now. But Chase at 9, if you can get one of those picks just to be different, that's a win for you if you are at the number 9 spot.
Yeah, it is. It is. We're at an interesting juncture. One thing I will say about the middle of the second round, there's some things that are a little uncomfortable a little bit. There's a couple
it's
players
harrowing,
super comfortable. So I'm kind of curious to see what I get there. Jahmyr Gibbs goes 2.3, started practicing again this week, so not a super big surprise. Travis Etienne 2.4.
I've seen it a lot lately.
Yeah, and I was thinking, okay, if I get a receiver in the first round, Etienne would be my pivot. It would not have been available to me, so I'm even happier now about that. So we'll see. Puka Nacua slips to 2.5. Slip might be a little strong for how it happens, but
I think it's fair. He would normally go back into the first round, early second in that Jahmyr Gibbs, Saquon Barkley range. Yeah. More power to you, given that you took Breece Hall where he did. That one of these receivers, whether it be Puka or somebody else, kind of falls to you at the spot.
Yep. Your boy, not your boy, Devon Achane, goes
planting the flag the other way is Devon Achane.
The best value of my board right now is actually a running back, but I want to get a receiver here.
Oh, I thought it was the one. We can reveal it. We've talked about Mike Evans now as the guy that's on top of your board at this spot, right?
He is. It's him or Derrick Henry. I'm going to go, but I think I am going to go Evans here. It's just a floor guy. Not every pick has to be a league winner. It's a guy that I'm just very comfortable with all the time. So Mike Evans, it is. I get him a lot. And so I ended up taking Evans. We'll see what happens. It was him or Olave and I've expressed some concerns about Olave and his setup. I'm not convinced Derek Carr is going to be any better even with a better offensive coordinator, but my dynasty league hopes I'm wrong about that assessment.
Well, and it's also over Devontae Adams around that spot too. You saw Jalen Waddle go there as well. Malik Neighbors, pretty early Malik Neighbors pull. unless you're in Chris Liss's draft, which inexplicably lets him get him at the back end of the third round. Yeah, I mean, this is more or less the correct ADP that we've seen. I think some variations to a 2 or 3 pick degree, but nothing surprising, which is typically good, at least when you've been doing the rankings as long as you have this year.
Yeah. Indeed. By Mike Sanda in this draft, he's the number 1. Thanks for jumping in the chat here. Mike is a great player. I did not like seeing him in this draft just because he's a great player. But you know what? It happens. Lots of good players in this one here. I will say that.
Yeah, McCaffrey won. I talked about it. I'm not just trying to compliment Mike. That's the direction I would go. Like, if McCaffrey stays healthy all year, he is going to be the biggest differential, and the difference between running back 1 and running back 2, I think, will be substantial. Of course, it's the if he stays healthy part that you have to be worried. But if you're trying to win the $250K, like Mike is in his 31st league, then you're trying to draft Christian McCaffrey. I don't think it's all that close.
Yeah, I get it. I definitely get it. He was not just the 1.1 last year. He was the 1.1 by a mile. So
right.
If you have one entry, maybe you play things a little differently. When you have a portfolio, I think you definitely go ahead and take it where they give it to you.
Yep, I would agree. Cooper Kupp, we had talked about that on the Wednesday podcast, the receivers. He's been rising up the rank, back pick of the second round. Then you have Metcalf, then you have DJ Moore. I would personally take Moore over Neighbors and Kupp and Metcalf, but I don't really blame anyone for going after aggressively Kupp. And then there's the other one, Nico Collins, who I feel very comfortable with taking over a lot of those receivers that got taken in the back end of the second round too.
That there is my guy, Nico Collins. Yeah, I'm a little slightly disappointed that he didn't make it to me. I thought there was a chance of that. Maybe I just was fooling myself. I don't believe it. But so it goes. There's some options here for me at this next pick, though. I do like some of my choices that I can go from here. Devontae Adams is still out there, believe it or not. I talked about
that's true.
Cost, but there goes Derrick Henry, by the way. If Derrick Henry made it to me, I would have really struggled to miss that, to not click on that, even with one running back.
I would have had to take him too. I agree with you. Yep.
I know we've got your guy still hovering like an angel there too.
He might be back to you in the middle of the 4th, though. And also, my biggest concern is that's about as large of a plant flagging that I've done in my career. So he's going to get hurt week 1, and I don't want to hurt your drafts. Just let me hurt mine.
Yeah, thank you for that. Appreciate you there. Okay, I am up. I'm going to go kind of old and boring here, although I don't know about boring, but I'm going to go old. I'm going to take Debo. Even if there's no Ayuk trade, I still think Debo's kind of worth this price.
So that's one of those that I would be staying far away from. But I've also been super low on Debo his whole career.
Okay.
And the idea of this Brandon Ayuk saga, which is extended far, far too long, if it ends up playing out where Ayuk is gone, you've gotten a windfall. I mean, I would assume Samuel will probably go in that Neighbors range, in that Jalen Waddle range, given what he'll mean to that offense. I just assume Ayuk is not getting traded at this point. I've said that all season, and maybe I lost a little faith on that when we had all those reports from the unnamed sources or whatever they were, like giving us the final details. But right now, Debo really has an opportunity to emerge and I think solidify himself, especially with the Niners drafting Ricky Pearsall this year. You know that they want to try to get a cheaper version of what they think they can do. And I think Debo's got to show that he can be clearly the main weapon and one of the schematic weapons that Kyle Shanahan deploys.
Yeah. So you're steering away from that, but I steered into it. Ayuk went right after, by the way. I thought that was interesting. Rashee Rice, who's been rising up the charts, goes at 310. And there goes your guy, Josh Jacobs. That
is my favorite start. The Tyreek Hill, Pacheco, and then Josh Jacobs. Boy, you can do that way cheaper in ESPN or Underdog Best Ball, but that doesn't mean that it's not a sexy draft start, I think, for the number 2 spot. I love that quite a bit.
Okay. You like going 2 running backs early, don't you?
No. I don't know about that. I'm just saying.
Oh, you are the 2 running back guy. No.
Okay. So thank you for attributing that to me. No, I if the board breaks the way it did, like I maybe would have taken a DJ Moore over Pacheco. Maybe I would have considered Nico Collins over Pacheco, knowing that I would likely get a chance to get Jacobs. But both those players, I think both Pacheco and Jacobs are guys that are going to be candidates next year to be late first round, mid first round picks. And when you're talking about the value for that and the receivers that you likely can get later on in the draft, I'm okay with going those 2 running backs at that specific spot.
Okay, interesting. This is an interesting inflection point in the draft, by the way. We just saw Michael Pittman go. As usual, the NFFC is a little bit more wide receiver centric than some other drafts. So you haven't seen a quarterback getting taken yet until just now. I just willed it into existence with Patrick Mahomes at 4.1. And again, so he's got the best quarterback, the first quarterback, and the first running back. Interesting.
6 points per passing touchdown. That's a no-brainer to me that Mahomes is the 1-1 on the board. I know that everyone wants to talk about Josh Allen as the top fantasy quarterback, maybe in 4-point per passing touchdown leagues. But I know Nick did this stat. Obviously, Josh Allen ran for 15 touchdowns last year. Previously, he'd averaged around 8 in his career. So what are we assuming the touchdown regression is going to look like with a less than stellar offensive cast? I think Josh Allen is going to be more like a 7 or 8 rushing touchdown guy. And Mahomes is clearly, I think, the best quarterback fantasy-wise in this format, or a 4.1 in my mind.
Yeah, both teams 3 and 4 have started off with 4 receivers. So if and team 5 is also started off receiver. So I think it's going to be you're already starting to see a little bit of scarcity at the position there. So it's kind of fun. Do you take the next best at a different position, or do you try to get in if you want to get that third? I actually have. I'm actually up. Okay. And so, Joe, I'm at a spot here. This is an odd spot because I thought early in draft season, Stephon Diggs was overpriced. But at 4.6, I'm pretty good with it, the price here.
Yeah, I think I was fine with it too. And also, who are the guys after? I know we're talking against the clock.
Tank Dell, Christian Kirk, Chris Godwin.
So that's the end of the tier, right? Like if it's a 3rd round Diggs, that makes me nervous. But if we're saying it's going to be 4th round Diggs and also Diggs over Christian Kirk or Tank Dell, then it's a no doubter in my mind, and you're playing the full point PPR percentage in that regard.
Yep. It's not a like young, sexy name draft. It's Evans, Debo, Diggs, team old here, but we'll see. Maybe I'll get Kelsey on the way back and really kind of keep that
possible. We know that the NFFC typically fades tight ends, right? I mean, that happens often. There's been years where the first tight end off the board is more like round 5 or 6. So Laporta doing what he did last year, it's not surprising to me that he's mid 4th round. Kelsey, give me the equation. Mark Andrews, that would fit your old guy mantra too. You're young at heart.
But Jeff, I didn't want to come into this as like, I'm taking old guys. Is the funny thing. But here we are nonetheless, but it is kind of fun to watch this here a little bit. I think it's interesting that Josh Allen has not been taken. And in fact, his teammate James Cook just went instead. I'm not on Cook at that price. I think we were talking about, Nick and I were talking Cook yesterday as a rushing yard prop. And I'm actually on the under at 925. I think, and I also, because I think Ray Davis is going to take a bunch of his rushing yards. And I also think, you're not getting the rushing touchdown. So maybe he makes it up in more catches. That's the trade-off perhaps, but
yeah. And maybe I feel similarly about Rachaad White, but if you're pulling that out a little bit further, Rachaad White is right now at least poised to be the guy over Bucky Irving. Whereas the Bills have already said they want to get Ray Davis involved. And we've seen Latavius Murray and the carcass of Leonard Fournette have impact or at least get snaps in that backfield. You're absolutely correct. I agree with you on that one with James Cook.
T. Higgins, man on a mission right now in training camp in the preseason, goes at 410. I like that pick a lot.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, whose contract are you more worried about as a Bengals fan, Jeff? Jamar Chase or T. Higgins?
Higgins is gone after this year. I'm not worried about it. It's just It's a done deal.
That's fair. And I also think Jamar Chase will absolutely be there. I would be shocked if the Bengals have bungled that situation the way they will. Are you of the belief that people are playing for their contracts? Because it goes both ways. I mean, like sometimes you get that benefit and other times it doesn't work that way.
Higgins is. Chase isn't due for 2 more years. That's the thing. That's what's so weird about this situation is he's just trying to strike where the market is hot. And I get it. But at the same time, I can see why the Bengals were caught off guard a little bit by this too.
Yeah, and the market being hot, I almost feel like if you were to wait, because really it's one more year, because it's that 5th year extension that typically people use to extend it out, get some. You can move the money around more that way. Chase is like the only guy, right? Like, or at least one of the big guys, and it could be like what I think is going to happen with Prescott this year, or certainly Brock Purdy, where there's only 2 QBs. Well, Prescott goes first, gets 62. Then Purdy can just be like, all right, here we go. Give me 65 or I'm not playing. And the teams can't do anything about it. Maybe that's what Jamar Chase should be doing instead of lumping in with CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Ayuk. But it's an interesting decision.
Yeah, it is. It is. We did finally see Josh Allen go at 4.9, by the way. That's about as late as I've seen him go. That he went, after, he went third quarterback, and Lamar went right after him pretty quickly there too. There goes Rachaad White. I was planning on taking a running back here, but I would have taken White. I thought the price was right on him.
Yeah, that would have really completed your I'm not sure I like any of these guys that you're drafting stack, Jeff. So you win $250K. That would have been it. I mean, you would have been perfect with that. Yeah.
There you go. Well, hey, I'm here to please. And we're going to – Zay Flowers just went. All right. That means I am up, right? Yes, that's how this works.
That is how it goes, yeah.
Yeah, okay then. Well, I'm going to take a guy also kind of not a sexy name, but he's going to get a lot of targets in the slot this year. Chris Godwin. No, wait, I can't. I almost did it, but Mike Evans is – I already got Mike Evans.
Oh, well, you leaned into the Baker Mayfield stack.
No, I can't do that. And I already have Diggs, so no Dell. So let's go George Pickens instead.
George Pickens. I thought for sure this would be Mark Andrews because you're catching the end of that tier. Kincaid and Kelsey and McBride all went. But another receiver, I don't mind it. That's the one receiver I've liked thus far.
Oh, thank you. I think that's for the back of your hand. Appreciate it there.
And then Mixon goes off the board too, and that would have been somebody that I took at the back end of the 4th round of my draft.
Oh, I think that being
my running back one.
I think Mixon is fine there, and I already had a Texan. I think that was one of the. I don't think I need to get another unless it's Stroud.
So is that something you should consider? Like if people are doing this draft now, maybe I don't want to take Nico, or maybe I don't want to take Stephon Diggs because I'm going to kind of paint myself into the corner for Joe Mixon. It's I don't want to operate that way. It's already planning out too far ahead, but you can kind of get Mixon. I feel like anywhere you want to get Mixon. And if you're like, no, I can't have a receiver Texan and Joe Mixon, maybe you just have to.
I mean, you can. And in fact, one of my best teams was a Lions stack of Barry Sanders, Herman Moore, and a late Scott Mitchell. And that was like his best year. And, Mitchell was free basically. That worked out really, really well. So it can work.
Okay. Well, it's something I think
I probably should have taken Mixon there. Now that I think about it, I think that was maybe better.
What year was that?
Yeah, it was a while ago. I'm older than you.
Well, I'm just going to say year 2024 might be a little bit different than the Barry Sanders, Herman Moore offense from.
Of course, but at the same time, I'm just saying a running back and a receiver on the same team can work.
I don't get scared by that. I guess that I was asking that question, but to answer my own, if I felt like Mixon was the best value, I maybe would have won Andrews instead. But if I felt like Mixon was the best value, I'm not scared off that I have any of the Texans receivers in that example.
Yeah. I kind of wish I would have taken Mixon there. Now that I think about it, but same time, I mean, because there are some receivers I still like. And
running backs or receivers?
Well, receivers. I took a receiver instead of Mixon as my point.
Oh, yeah. I see what you're saying. Yep.
Yeah. So but I also have some reservations about Mixon's like advanced net metrics and the like. So I don't know.
Which is fair, but the only thing is that all the running backs after this range, Aaron Jones, James Conner, David Montgomery, all go. You also have reservations about. Everyone should. And if you could have said, I guarantee James Conner comes back to you in the 6th round, well, that's not a debate. Then I'm passing on Joe Mixon. But we have this run of running backs, and that happens when 2 of the 3 teams go 4 receivers to start. It's almost inevitable that you're going to be playing catch up at running back, and then you have to overreact to the overreactions.
Yeah. I don't, but yeah, because I'm going to be taking one of 2 tight ends here.
There you go. Oh, I know which tight end. You're right. I know which one I'm going with.
Yeah, I've got 2 options here, and I'm equally happy. But so go ahead and try to stymie me, Team 5. You didn't. You took Chris Godwin anyhow. So, which I was not going to take at this point.
Well, you're all
what I've been saying all along. I've got Pitts barely ahead of Kittle. Let's keep going Pitts.
You drew some oohs and ahs when you said that you're all in on Pitts again this year on the panel that you did today. There was about a 100 live audience, and I heard some muffled whispers. Oh no, I can't believe Jeff's doing this again. But I'm fine with it.
Was that you saying that, or was that Jeff?
I was maybe the loudest of the muffled whispers. Yes. I'm fine with it for the record. But I've also taken Pitts in my lone NFFC draft. Now, I didn't do it this year, but the prior 2 years, I think it might have been the prior 3 years I did it, and it hasn't been great for one of those three.
No, I took him last year in the primetime draft, and because he fell, like, I don't want to take him, but he's there. This year, I want to take him. That's the difference.
That's fair. I have a lot of faith that Kirk Cousins will automatically make Drake London where his current value is. You're not drafting with a discount. You're drafting with the assumption Kirk Cousins make Drake London better, but you aren't doing that with Kyle Pitts. I think Kyle Pitts, if you guaranteed that he was going to be like 80% TJ Hawkinson, Pitts is probably in that range, maybe even ahead of Trey McBride or Dalton Kincaid, and you're getting him around 6. I think there is some value, assuming that Kirk Cousins, like I do, is going to make that offense just automatically better.
Yeah. I think it isn't just a different coordinator, different head coach, just different all around. So yeah, that's the way I want to go with that. So chances are I'm either going running back or quarterback here at this next pick. We'll see what happens. There's a few options that I like.
Only 4 quarterbacks off the board thus far. You made Kyle Pitts, I think, tight end 7 because there's Mark Andrews and Evan Ingram. Totally fine with that equation too. And it's this range of receivers we talked about on the show the other day. The Lab McConkey, Keon Coleman, Brian Thompson of the group. I don't want to have a premium receiver, whether that be my flex or my wide receiver 3, come from that group. So the way you built your roster, you were sweating about the Joe Mixon thing, but you avoided having to be receiver heavy in this next pick, and you can kind of get whatever falls to you, which is the value of having pick 6.
Right. That was the goal along. We just saw Anthony Richardson go in John McKechnie's draft. He dropped. That is not John, but Richardson dropped all the way to the 9th round. So, and that's because remember 6 points for a passing touchdown. We saw the good and the bad with Richardson on Thursday night against the Bengals.
Yep. The interception, which was a miscommunication, that was what Richardson said after the game. Maybe didn't have to make that throw regardless. I don't know what the window he was thinking was going to be, but it wasn't fantastic. But I thought that Adonai Mitchell touchdown that he had on that opening series or whatever, the first quarter, that's the promise that you get at the Shane Steichen, Anthony Richardson offense. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's only played 4 games, but in the 4-point per passing touchdown leagues, Richardson's rushing upside is what people think Jaden Daniels' rushing upside is going to be. And he feels like if you were like, hey, which quarterback leads the league in rushing touchdowns this year? Even if it's only like plus 250, I'll take A-Rich's odds every time over Josh Allen and the like. I feel very confident if he plays healthy all year, he's double-digit touchdowns rushing for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. Like that. I like that aspect of him. I have plenty of exposure to Richardson, including my home league, which is a super flex league where it's a point for every 30 passing yards. So I try to prioritize rushing QBs and got 2 of my first 3 rounds on that one there. And I don't always go super, I don't get my second quarterback that early in every super flex league, but it's my preferred style.
That's fair. Feeling okay thus far with your plan? How's your lineup looking right now in your mind?
I'm fine. I'm not overweighted in any one particular bye week. Got a couple of week 9s, a couple of week 12s. It's okay. That they're like one back, and one tight end in 9, and then 2 receivers in week 9. I mean, in 9 and 2 and a running back and a tight end in week 12. So that's the one thing to watch for a little bit. I'll have to get a unique bye week for another receiver spot. Remember, it's 20-man rosters. I'm going to be getting some other receivers at some point.
Yeah, no, I mean that's fair. I really don't want to have many receivers past round 11. We talked about this. Like, other than your boy Jermaine Burton or like a Rashad Bateman, I don't want to reveal more names, but it's a lot of those players that are left. I like doing the running back dart thing at that point, especially with the way the receivers get pushed up in these kind of formats so early.
Yep. All right. So I'm going to take running back here. I think the answer may surprise you. I think I'm going to go Zamir White because I think he's going to get just a ton. I think he's this year's Rashad White. I think he's going to get tons of volume.
Even as a pass catcher, they drafted that Dylan Lobb guy too to be
I'm
that.
not impressed.
Well, I'm not either. I think the Raiders could have average 50 plays a game or something just astronomically low relative to the rest.
Actually, I take that back. I'm not going to take Zamir White. I'm going to take Tony Pollard, who I think is looking pretty good so far. So
okay, all right, Tony Pollard
in draft pivot.
That's not the running back I would go, but I don't want to reveal the name because I know you might consider him possibly in the next round. But Pollard's. I think it took Pollard in the stake league for 18, which I wasn't happy about. We've mentioned that before. The money was kind of crazy at the last 75 nominations or so. Mm-hmm. There's some possibility that Pollard is this year's David Montgomery, right? Like something that you didn't really want, going to be in a timeshare with Tajay Spears, and both those guys end up being good. I think that's the upside play you're saying with Tony Pollard.
Yep. We just saw in succession the three guys I was choosing between, though. Pollard, Harris, and Zamir White all just went. So it goes.
So I thought you would maybe consider Harris if he came back.
I did consider Harris.
Okay.
But I already had Pickens. I already had.
But we just did this. We just did this.
Three guys in week 9 is more what I was getting at.
Okay. That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. I agree with you. I think Marquise Brown is a totally fine pick, especially as your wide receiver 2. I'm surprised that he didn't fall further. I thought maybe in the NFFC, obviously one of the sharper draft platforms you can do this on, you wouldn't be able to sneak Marquise Brown, and you get the Mahomes stack coming up right behind you. You have to be a little bit wary of it, but that's one of those that especially in ESPN formats where he's now around 10 and later, give me Marquise Brown as wide receiver 3 every single time.
Okay. I could see it. Not my choice, but I could see it. We are at Mike Sanda's pick. He is crushing this draft so far, I think, in my opinion. Got the top running back and the top quarterback. I think this format Mahomes is really great at. So we'll see.
I would have rather seen. I really like the draft thus far he's done. I would have rather seen a James Conner or one of the running backs instead of Xavier Worthy. I've mentioned it now. I think what people assume Xavier Worthy is going to be Tyreek Hill for that offense, and it's a 30-pound difference between the two players. Like Xavier Worthy physically can't do what Tyreek Hill did for the Chiefs, and I think he's just going to be a better version of MVS. So that's the one area maybe if I want running back instead. But you're absolutely right. The Mahomes one, I think right away. I was not worried about Christian McCaffrey. I love Cooper Kupp even at that spot too. That's a pretty slam dunk roster this far.
Yeah. You took 2 upside plays here with these next 2 picks, Jonathan Brooks and Chase Brown. Cortland Sutton is a good floor play, in my opinion, for team 2. I think he's the lead receiver on a team. Maybe doesn't repeat the touchdowns, but I still think he's a primary guy there. So Jaden Daniels goes before a lot of other quarterbacks. I'm kind of intrigued. I want to hear your reaction to that one.
Just people are going to get disappointed. It's obviously to a lesser extent than what we're dealing with now. But even last year's hysteria revolving Kenny Pickett, the Steelers' offense in the preseason looks great. They're going to be fantastic. And we were like, oh, no, Kenny Pickett just is a really bad quarterback. And he was able to benefit from the COVID years to be able to be a first-round pick in a historically bad class. Like Malik Willis was the next drafted in the 3rd round. Jaden Daniels is significantly better than Kenny Pickett, who I don't even know if is going to be in the NFL at the start of the season, or at least he's on the practice squad. But when we're doing the 6 points per passing touchdown league, the rushing upside doesn't matter as much. And I don't even think Jaden Daniels has the rushing upside that people think he might have. Like, he's going to be closer to a 500, 600-yard rusher, and I think he's going to be injury-prone as well. Watch how many times he got speared. It looked like it was WWE matches in times when he was playing in college. I'm very worried about Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, I get it. I have a little tiny bit of exposure to him, and that's enough. This is, by the way, massive quarterback run this round. Daniel, Love, Dak. I took Joe Burrow. Kyler Murray went 2 picks later. Burrow, I wanted Burrow, Murray, or Love, and was happy. I get my guy. I'm fine with
So,
Burrow.
question for you: would you have rather had Stroud if he had made it one pick to you instead of Tony Pollard?
Um,
Because we're talking about the Stephon
no,
Diggs.
because I knew there would be plenty of QB choices I was happy with.
Okay.
I kind of put Stroud in the same tier as all those guys that just went.
I think Stroud is above them for the 6 points per passing touchdown league like this. Like if you told me
Burrow's
Stroud,
just as good as far as that goes, and Burrow's got a great schedule this year.
Burrow also has lingering injuries. I don't want to talk. You could cover your ears for the Bengals fan, Jeff. I understand that, but this is a guy that's not practicing like once every 3 days kind of deal. That's nerve wracking. That has to be.
Yeah. No. I don't hear you.
Fair. I understand.
Robinson and Eckler go back to back. No, you don't get the handcuff there. Sorry.
I don't think I want any bit of the only player I'm taking from the Commanders this year.
Is you cut out? Leaving the whole room in suspense. Which commander Joe he's going to take? Yes, I unstacked Burrow. That is bad. That is one thing that I probably could have not done, but that's shame on me for that. But I still I knew that I could get a lot of different options there. Either I'm not on or Joe's not on right now. This is an interesting experiment. Joe, say something if you're on, otherwise, because I can't hear you right now. So, anyways, should be interesting to see what's going on there. That might be Joe having to renew his internet right now. So yeah, I'm on. Thank you, Jeffrey Mallow. Appreciate you there for letting me know that it is me, and Joe is probably refreshing his internet right now, because I think he checked in at a certain time, and it's every 24 hours in the hotel room. You have to do that there. Tajay Spears just went, so I don't get the combo.
The fun parts of doing the draft here at the hotel is that you have to update the Wi-Fi whenever it's ready. We were prepared for this, Jeff. We knew that was going to happen.
I was guessing that was what happened there.
Anyway, the commander that I wanted to draft was Terry McLaurin. I guess spoiler, I kept you guys waiting on bated breath. Terry McLaurin, yeah, that's the guy I want.
All right, I'm on the clock here, so you keep talking.
Okay. Otherwise, Ben Sinnott, and I've said this before, that the answer of who is this year's Puka Nacua is way too hard and I think can be troublesome, but who is this year's Trey McBride is an absolute layup to me. They have the carcass of Zach Ertz starting at tight end. I've seen some John Bates blocking specialist stuff, and I bet you after the Commanders are 1-6, they're going to be like, man, our offense stinks. Jaden Daniels isn't actually good. What should we do to get the team better? And you're going to put the guy that's insane, who is your second-round pick, an athletic freak for a tight end, at least out of this class, in Ben Sinnott on the field, and lo and behold, they're going to do better, because other than Terry McLaurin, there really isn't any of the pass catchers. You can talk to me about Zacchaeus, you can talk to me about Luke McCaffrey, and I'm just going to go la, 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 la. We've watched their careers, or at least we've seen Luke McCaffrey in college, and hasn't produced at any position. I really think that Ben Sinnott, when he's on the field, is going to be a guy that you can't take out of your lineup.
I could see it. I think McCaffrey's interesting though still too. I don't know. That was one where I was considering going that route as well. So Jerome, I took Chubb. Someone took Ford. I was hoping to get the combo. I was able to do so in the SiriusXM host league earlier this week to pull off the combo. Because I think that's a nice when you get Ford early and Chubb late. But you have to take Chubb first is the problem.
Do you have to take Chubb first, or could you take Jerome Ford first?
Maybe I could have. By ADP, it's barely Chubb, but they're pretty close to each other.
This is a sharp draft. I'm not sure people would have let you.
Very
but
sharp draft.
Who's going to be more? Who's going to have more enthusiasm or helium at this point of the season? It's the guy that's probably going to play week one, as opposed to Chubb, who we haven't heard, even if will be available week one, much less week four. Right? I mean, I think you reverse it. Maybe there's a better shot, but this tier of running backs, they all kind of go in that same spot. And I'm glad to see Dobbins being valued the way that he should. I think Dobbins is going to be the clear-cut starter for the Chargers. And
yeah, you've said that.
I have not seen him. Yeah, I've said that before, or for the Ravens.
No, I think you said, or maybe it was someone else who was making that point. Then maybe.
No, I've been saying that now for a while. That you watch the Chargers camp, and I cover the Chargers for RotoWire. It's been clearly Dobbins, and while he's not fresh out of Ohio State, Dobbins it seems like he's as close as you can get for all the injuries that he's had. And we've seen now time and time again in a Greg Roman offense, it's Dobbins 1, Gus Edwards 2, and we just need to see if it was Dobbins healthy. Well, he is, so I think he's going to be a major factor this season.
Yeah, I could see it for sure. Getting closer to my pick here. Wow, this draft is flying.
It's flying.
It's awesome. You ever get
like an hour and 40 minutes?
If you ever get stuck in a slow draft, when you get in a fast draft, you're like, oh, this is so nice. The SiriusXM Hostly we got done in an hour. It was crazy, but that was on Sleeper. I really enjoyed doing that. So that's pretty cool. I can kind of go a lot of different routes here with my next pick, but I'm either going to go. I think there's actually. I mean, there's. I'm not even going to reveal it yet because
there's two of a position that I like yet. Again, Team 1 crushing it. I think the Brock Bowers spot is a windfall from a value perspective. I like that. But you have some flexibility, which you've maintained that flexibility this whole time, which has been great. So you can capitalize on these sorts of moments.
Yeah, that's kind of the goal here. I've got 3 running backs and 4 receivers right now, so that does give me a certain amount of flexibility. Keon Coleman was one person I was considering with the pick. But I am now up, so now I actually have to decide. I can't keep stonewalling and keep
can't keep delaying. Yeah, I got you.
So I have to decide running back, wide receiver, or quarterback. There's actually a quarterback that's interesting to me too.
Don't go quarterback. Can I at least lead you correctly there? No quarterback.
You're right, and that's what I'm gonna go receiver instead. I'm going to take a chance on Jordan Addison.
I don't mind it. I was all the way out on Jordan Addison, but talking with Jim Coventry earlier today on SiriusXM, it was one of those like, oh, you're right. Like the legal stuff, just like Rashee Rice, who just got drafted probably rightfully in the 3rd round. If it would have happened, it would have already happened. Maybe Zay Jones is like the one that we should be worried about because he did get suspended for legal trouble, and that kind of came out of nowhere. But for as high profile as Rice and Jordan Addison are, I think those situations would be resolved. I assume it'll be next year, kind of like the Alvin Kamara thing that happened last year. And there's no TJ Hawkinson. Aaron Jones is going to get hurt at some point, as much as I like him. It can't just be Justin Jefferson getting the ball. For how bad that defense is, and the secondary especially is banged up with injuries and the like, you're going to have Jordan Addison involved often. And I think he's pretty close to an 1,000-yard receiver, and maybe he gets 10 touchdowns again, and he just becomes an easy wide receiver 3 for you.
Yeah, maybe so. And I wanted to get, because I think receiver is going to dry up. There's like a couple more of my targets later, and I might still grab one. But whereas I think there are a wider range of running backs and tight ends that I can take stabs at later on. Those will dry up faster than you think too, though. And that's the nature of the beast. Like there goes Trey Benson. That was the other name I was considering at that pick.
I'm not sure I'm taking Trey Benson unless I have James Conner.
Really?
Yeah, that's the only scenario where I want Trey Benson. And I mean, I was all over him for dynasty purposes. I traded for him in our dynasty startup. I think Trey Benson, starting next year, is going to be one of those guys that I'm drafting in the 5th round and being like, what are you all missing? Like, this is clearly the best rookie running back of this class. He's in an offense that's going to be really good. The Cardinals are going to build upon their offensive line over the coming years. They drafted Paris Johnson last year. I really like Benson, but I don't think he's going to matter when James Conner is healthy and available. And yeah, Conner's going to miss a month at some point. But until that, you're saying Trey Benson is confidently sitting on your bench.
Yeah, I get it. We're at the point, though, trying to find better alternatives. You're not going to find too many clear starters. You're going to find maybe starters like the Dallas running backs or the Chargers running backs.
Okay, there is a clear starter left, and his backup got taken, who's not going to play at all much this year, much to Uncle Ted's chagrin. I know that he likes him, but there is one, I think, clear starter and who I've been gobbling up everywhere. But he fits your mantra of team at least through the first 4 or 5 rounds.
Are you saying that he is old? Is that what you're
I am implying that maybe he is on the elderly side for his position.
There is a guy that I know is going to start the first 2 or 3 weeks also that happens to be available.
Yes. I was surprised he has not been taken as well. And I would have actually been taking those guys in the past 2 rounds. So you're getting a windfall at some point with either one of them.
I still got 5 more picks to go. I mean,
you're right. We were jinxing things. Team 11's listening right now, trying to decipher who we're talking about because he's in this draft as well. He's like, oh, I can just get this guy.
It's a really tricky code to crack here. I don't know if we can do that.
We're not saying it's going to be somebody that starts with E in their name. Yeah, no, it's fine. I think any direction you go at this point will be totally fine.
Yeah. Rashid Shaheed goes. A lot of people are partisans of him. He's hurt though right now a little bit, so that's one thing. But it doesn't look like it's a long-term thing, but that's definitely worth tracking at least a little bit there. Jalen Wright fits the team speed mantra for the Dolphins, that's for sure.
We're in Vegas. Team speed might mean a different thing, so we have to quantify that for the listeners. And we're talking about speed in the football field. Jalen Wright definitely qualifies, yeah.
Yeah.
You make bad jokes all the time, Jeff. I'm allowed to make bad jokes too. Come on.
Yeah, I make good jokes, so that's the difference.
Sorry.
I make a lot of good dad puns. It's a fine art. Pregnant pause. Zeke Elliott just goes. That's who you were referring to earlier.
Yep.
And Michael was asking, should I have taken Zeke? He was my other option. It's possible. I mean, you could have. I mean, I don't think there's a should have in the 10th round or 11th round. You know,
right.
It's whoever you want to take.
Yep.
I'm going to take a guy that's going to start now, and we'll see when he does. I'm going to take Chuba Hubbard right now.
I think I would have taken him ahead of Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
So it's wild to me that we're talking about a 24-pick difference. And to be clear, I kind of forgot about Jordan Addison. I don't have the ADP in front of me. I like Josh Palmer more than Addison, but my conversation with Jim Coventry, I think I'm with you that Addison's a good call. But I would have replaced Chuba Hubbard with Nick Chubb, and yet you're still getting him as your running back 4 in this instance. I love that scenario.
Total victory.
There's no guarantee, and I know Jonathan Brooks went to our guy in the number 1 spot who we've liked their team a lot, but there's no guarantee that Brooks is even the starter by like December. I understand the Panthers have invested draft capital, but how many times has somebody come off an injury like that and been an immediate difference maker in their rookie season? There's a lot of check marks that make me a little bit concerned.
Yeah, I get it. I absolutely get it, and I don't have a whole lot of Brooks right now. But again, it's an upside play for the team that's already got some elite players. If you find one, we're kind of sniffing at reserves right now. So if he does click, well then, hey.
Well, my answer to this is Blake Corum. Like that's the guy that I think is the upside running back. Mm-hmm. If Kyron Williams goes down, Blake Corum is a top 10 running back. You do the rankings every week. He would be easily among that group no matter what his matchup is. And it's like, okay, if Chuba Hubbard goes down, Jonathan Brooks top 15, the Panthers offense has to look dramatically better, dramatically different to say you're confidently using Jonathan Brooks as an RB1 territory. Like that's the difference. I would take Corum over Jonathan Brooks at their current ADPs, and he's able to get both. So I think that's the way to play things if you really are looking for that high upside.
Yeah, I love Corum. I think that is great. I know a lot of smart people have been making the case for him. I was a little disappointed when he went, that's for sure. I keep getting shut out on him. I guess that means it's my fault, though, that I'm not there.
Got to be more aggressive.
Yeah, be aggressive. Be aggressive.
I knew you were going to do that one. I could set you up for that one.
Yeah, thanks.
I got Blake Corum in the stake league auction. I got Zeke in the stake league auction. There's the Tony Pollard pick that I didn't like, which I also had in stake league. So it's funny that all these running backs we talk about, I love the round 7 and later guys, especially in redraft. I think you can really build a competitive lineup with anyone as your running back 2 and 3 that point and later.
Yeah. Team 4, by the way, gets a pretty late Trevor Lawrence. I like that pick a lot.
Oh, well, it's because you've been talking to Nick too much. As the resident Jags fan and possibly only Jags fan in the universe, much less RotoWire. Yeah, that's fine. You're hearing the Lawrence love from him. I don't blame you. It's okay.
You know what? He was trending for a much better season until the injury.
He was.
And until his top receiver, Christian Kirk, got hurt. Now,
the hate just went way too far on Lawrence. Like, we're acting – on the panel today, they asked you, was he disappointment? It's like, what do you expect when you have one of the worst coaches of all time in Urban Meyer, your year 1? You still perform pretty well despite that dire circumstance and nearly had the team as number 1 seed early on this past year before injuries took over everything. And Prez Taylor is not a good offensive coordinator. Doug Peterson might not be either.
Prez Taylor is still the offensive coordinator. That's the only thing I don't like.
Yep. Well, and that's why he's a backup and not in that Jordan Love, Dak Prescott range, which I think he would be if you said Ben Johnson or the Texans guy were calling plays from instead.
By the way, I would have taken Dontavian Wicks, even though I don't really need a wide receiver anymore. I have 5 of them, so I was going to take more. I wanted either Wicks or Ray Davis. This is just like the host league where I got sniped on both in the same round. It's almost like, and it happened in the same round, by the way, round 12. It's almost as if I shouldn't wait till round 12 if I want to get them. Weird, strange.
Shocker. Yeah.
I will take Mr. This is so boring. I'm going to take him anyhow, though. I'm going to take Tyler Algier because I know he'll play at some point.
Well, that's a Nick one, too. Nick's been all over Tyler Algier as well.
It's a boring pick, but sometimes boring wins, so that's all right.
Practice the team 5 and apologizing to you. That's at least he's being nice about it. That's good.
Yeah. But yeah, hey, it's a good pick. So be it.
2K, we're picking on NFFC right now. It's one of the premier, I think, competitive platforms in the fantasy industry. We've been lucky enough to have a relationship with them for a while, but I'm actually going to have an auction draft coming up the 28th. That sold out in a day, Jeff. I thought that was fantastic that we had that already set up. Jake Latarski and I, we did the Tuesday podcast and waiver wire show normally during the season, but we've done auction strategy, salary cap strategy. Really, really looking forward to doing that one live and live streaming. Jake and I are going to get in some arguments about players as we're trying to compile the teams and hitting the +1. So I'm looking forward to that one here in a couple of days.
Yeah, you guys arguing with each other. That will make good content there for sure.
People will be happy, just not us.
Yes, but that should be good. This is now like real wild card range of the draft. You can just get your guys a little bit there. You just have to know that they're your guys. So this is it's never. We're at the point where nothing is too early to get a player now.
Yep, I would agree. Normally, even like round 13 or round 12 in past years, there's maybe still an ADP you're following. That's been out the door for a while. You just go, like you had mentioned with Ray Davis, like if you're getting boxed out as often as you are, just be aggressive. It does not matter this year. Dontavian Wicks, same concept. Just get your guys.
Yep. Man, Wicks and Davis, that hurts. It's twice in the same week where I've done. I did it to myself because I could have taken him in round 11. That's the thing. I mean, I got a player I liked in round 11 on Chuba.
If it makes you feel better, I think Chuba Hubbard is better than both those guys, but I understand the frustration.
Short-term better. May not be a better long-term play though. You start to think about long-term considerations maybe at that point in the draft. Braylon Allen really has showed out in camp in the preseason so far this year. His ADP has kind of skyrocketed, and this is we're also at ADP doesn't matter stage now too.
Yeah, and Tyrone Tracy, who I remember we were doing our show live, and it was reported that he was carted off. The prevailing assumption he was done for the season. I had made like a 5-minute explanation as to what that means for Devin Singletary, and then by the end of the show, it's just a high ankle sprain. He's probably ready week 1. It is crazy what happens with those injuries. I know in the panel today they had talked about how you're projecting that, or do you take any sway of what the injury status is, and the way teams operate nowadays with that stuff. Everyone gets carted off. They don't leak any of that information in the preseason, or they give you they could be ready for week 1. It has to be infuriating. I don't do the rankings for a reason, Jeff, so it has to be infuriating for you, who has to be constantly reacting to that news that might not even be news to react to.
Yeah, well, I mean, and the thing is, if you're doing weekly rankings and you're really doing daily and just publishing weekly, well, there's going to be movement, and movement happen, for a reason there. So you're drafting as you're ranking as if you're drafting in that snapshot right now, and you get what you get with that there. Interesting to see Greg Dortch go ahead of other Arizona pass catchers like Michael Wilson, for instance.
Yeah, he's been rising up board. I think I was talking with Jim about this off the side. It wasn't even on the platforms. Like I get the concept. That's probably one of the bigger risers of the preseason, of the beat writer talk. I will still take Michael Wilson. I still think he has the upside scenario, and I would assume it's Marvin Harrison, it's Michael Wilson, 1-2, and Greg Dortch gets like 450 yards and plays a lot of snaps. But I could be wrong. I'll be really interested to see how that Cardinals receiving core kind of just develops over the course of the season.
Yep. I'm taking another running back here. I'm taking Bucky Irving. I'm buying into the notion that the Bucs offensive line is much improved this year. And since I waited a little bit on second running back, I'm taking a few more stabs at that.
So I'm totally fine with it. I like the Chuba Hubbard thing. We would have been fine with Ray Davis as well too. I kind of am interested in Team 7. that there's only 3 running backs to this point. I mean, we're entering the kicker defense territory. They essentially only have 2 real picks left. To have only
20 rounds, my friend.
Oh, 20 rounds. Well, so I have it on the small screen. We're in 16 on this. Is that what
we're in round 13 still? Got lots of time.
But still, Bucky Irving is like a tier of itself that we're debating, and that's going to be running back 4 and later. But the receivers that this team has got, I mean, that's as much as I don't like Devon Achane, and I think he's going to be a negative or nuisance. C.J. Stroud, Keenan Allen, Zay Flowers, that's a really, really compelling team. And you're going to get a wide receiver 3 out of Dobbs, Mike Williams, even Jacoby Myers too. I think that's possible. There's a lot of depth at his wide receiver position, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, it is. It is interesting there. That's the thing. Fun thing about this is you can do a lot of different sort of builds and still end up with some reasonably interesting rosters.
Yeah, Ricky Pearsall going in round 13. I got him in round 19 in my one 2 weeks ago. And I almost feel like Pearsall's had more negative news with the reoccurring injuries and that he probably isn't available week 1 and Brandon Ayuk there. I don't even think it's wrong. I think if I were to get traded, this is the range in which Pearsall will be taken. But I think it's funny that despite the difference in time, which has not benefited Ricky Pearsall, he's going around 13.
Yeah, that is true. They did spend a lot of draft capital on a team that's a win now team. To spend that sort of draft capital is pretty interesting. So I get it.
It's kind of like the Packers did with Jordan Love, obviously to a significantly lesser extent, but okay, they were like a couple plays away from making the Super Bowl, or at least winning the NFC. Then draft Jordan Love. In that draft, they also took A.J. Dillon, who was a backup to Aaron Jones. Josiah DeGuara was a backup tight end in that scenario. And, I think you can kind of see where it set that team back, why they never got quite that close for the ensuing few years. But hopefully Jordan Love makes a difference now. I think it's to a lesser extent what the Niners are doing with Ricky Pearsall. And I don't know if it'll pay off. I don't know if Pearsall's that guy, but if the Niners like him that way, then he probably fits the criteria for a good fantasy value.
Yeah. Speaking of good value, Josh Downs just went, and he has a high ankle sprain right now, but we're in round 14, so you're not drafting him for right now. You're just drafting on your talent.
Yeah, and he's been a pass catcher in the Gardner Minshew era. I don't think Richardson does anything different other than gets to be more explosive running and maybe more explosive passing. So as opposed to a 90-catch Josh Downs, is he more like a 75-catch, 70-catch guy? You're okay with that for week 14. You could make that work. That could be a starter at various points of the season. Yeah.
Team 7, by the way, appreciate your take on the receiver-heavy approach. He was chiming in the chat a little bit there. So he says it's a super running back-heavy draft. And
it was, yep.
So, yeah, there you go. It's good stuff there. Deeply analytical mind of Joe Bartel.
I don't know about that, but I just – the receivers, like I love Dobbs this year. I loved him last year, and he kind of outperformed his ADP. But in the worst case scenario, he's a round 10 guy, and you can throw him in every once in a while. I think Jacoby Myers, I'm lower on, but I absolutely understand the concept. And between Gabe Davis and Mike Williams, one of those will be having weeks in there too. And you're also taking away options from other people who have been going running back heavy. And at certain points, you're going to be able to capitalize on FAB, or at least you have to be aggressive in this sort of build.
Yep. I just took a little Burrow insurance, grabbed Matthew Stafford. So there you go. Not much analysis there.
Well, so would you have rather, clearly you would rather have Stafford over Cousins. Why is that?
I wouldn't really clearly. It's just because Cousins has the same bye week.
Okay. Yeah. Then, okay. So if
you're going to draft 2 quarterbacks, why draft them on the same bye week?
No, you're absolutely right. Would that have been if Cousins was bye week 8, are you taking him over Stafford?
In a second.
Okay. That's where I'm at too, but you're right that the bye week 12 thing. Richardson, I think, has bye week 14, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Okay.
I have a lot of 14s and 12s, I've noticed.
I think a lot of people do. I have a bunch of them. I felt like it was D-Day when the NFL schedule was released, because you do a lot of those pre-best ball drafts before draft season or whatever else, and they don't release the bye weeks. And I was happy that I didn't get hurt more, but the 14 and 12 spots just killed me in a few of those leagues that you're doing before any of that schedule stuff gets released. So I would take Cousins every time. The stack of Cousins and Richardson is my ideal build from the upside scenario, but also your safety net. And like we did the RotoWire Invitational, your draft finished a while ago. Mine's just finishing up now. Cousins didn't even get drafted in years. I bet you in ESPN leagues it's the same way.
Yeah, could be. By the way, in the draft chat, Greg is watching his first RotoWire podcast ever. So hello, Greg. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you. It is very nice that people are chiming in. I like that there.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the beauty of doing this stuff live, right? They get to react to us reacting.
Exactly. And they're like, oh, look, listen to that idiot did about that pick there. You know, it's great. They can comment on us, and we can review. We can reveal our lack of clear forethought there, if you will.
First defense off the board. Yeah, there we go.
And the Jets are a great defense. I have no problem with that being the first one off the board. That's for sure.
I do.
Yeah.
Only because you have the Niners in week 1. Are you really playing the Jets against the Niners in week 1? Like, you have to if you're doing a round 14 pick, but that makes me nervous. It does.
Yeah, it's a 14th round pick. I don't think there's anything that's too early in the 14th round.
Okay. All right, fine.
We're getting a run of defenses though. 4 of them now are off the board already. So, and the guy that took the Jets also took the Browns. So there you go.
Okay. Yep.
Problem solved.
Does this mean that for a list, because I'm sure you'll share the results to him, you'll have to take Justin Tucker for a list? That's kind of like one of those things. Like,
I don't have to do anything for list.
Solid.
He's a former colleague, still a current friend, but former colleague.
Fair enough. I'm impressed your internet hasn't given out too. We were playing with fire a little bit with the idea of we're not sure when it needs to be the 24-hour renewal of the internet, but kudos to you for riding on the seat here and making sure it works.
Yeah, so far so good. And now the good news is, if I do crap out, you'll be able to carry it for a second myself.
Yes, I will be able to cover. I can be honest about your picks, but until that point, I have to just keep quiet.
Adam in the chat says, am I overanalyzing about the Cousins versus Stafford thing? Because I have Pitts on my roster, and that might be a good that might be true. Could be a good point there.
The only scenario, there is scenarios, but as a Bengals fan, you don't want to hear it. The only scenario where Kirk Cousins is in your lineup over Burrow is if he's hurt anyway. So, like, I get the bye week thing. There's probably at that point in week 12, like, truthfully, Jeff, like, you'll know whether your team is in contention for one of the qualifier spots, like moving up in the tournament. And you could, like, just drop Cousins for whatever else and then, say whatever. I have to chase X running back off the waiver wire and it'll be okay. Like, there is a little bit of that where I do agree with what the chat was saying on that.
Yeah. I get you on that. Your guy, Uncle Ted's guy, Roshan Johnson.
Yeah, I was going to say, wait a minute now. I am not the Roshan
Another
Johnson.
one of those false accusations of it being your guy. Hey, speaking of, like, fitting team themes, here's one for you here. Adam Thielen, come on down.
Adam Thielen, if you know, or I don't know if Nick told you this, went round 6 in our RotoWire Invitational. Round 6 Adam Thielen was a choice. I was very surprised by that. For those of you who don't know, I mean, Jeff and I do a billion different leagues, but the RotoWire Invitational is across the whole company of gambling.com, GDC. And I think the person that was doing that pick is not part of, like, our contingency, or at least of the expert group. And the ADP on my fantasy league, which is where we are drafting, is dramatically different than a lot of sites. So there are probably certain ways you searched that you could find Adam Thielen higher if you were looking for certain somethings. Maybe like points scored last year, for example. But yeah, round 6, Adam Thielen, that was almost egregious as the Vegas draft that saw Gabe Davis go round 4 in ours because somebody, like, accidentally hit the wrong button, or I don't know what that wasn't our league. It was the Harry and Shanky one. But yeah, that was tough too with Gabe Davis as high as he went in that draft.
Indeed. Good pick just now, Isaiah Likely. That guy can play. He's just a good player. I think we had on Thursday's show, we had our Ravens guy come on, and he said that they're going to probably do some more situations there where they get Likely lining up in the slot. The only problem is neither him nor Andrews are necessarily blockers. They don't want to have Andrews block that much. So the problem is trying to find a way to get him on the field at the same time. They could go, they can go 12, but the problem is both of them are kind of whiteout type of guys.
So that just seems like beat writers speak to me. Like, they were told that by a coach, and the coach was feeding that information because why not? It doesn't hurt them. But in reality, I don't know how you execute that. The only way that I'm drafting Isaiah Likely is if I have Mark Andrews. And to be clear, I will draft him in this round. I did do that actually in my online championship a couple of weeks ago. But I'm not having a naked Isaiah Likely. That's not at all a scenario I want to present. And, of the tight ends in that range, give me Noah Fant every single time. Now, no Will Dissly, no Colby Parkinson, and the Seahawks passing attack looking kind of promising, at least early on. I would much rather have Noah Fant. I would rather have Ben Sinnott as well. We've talked about him before. Isaiah Likely, if you don't have Mark Andrews, feels like a complete wasted selection to me.
That's strong words from a strong man. I think he's okay. I think Likely's good. I think he's just a good player.
He's a good player. I'm not saying he's not
involved. There's actually like 3 tight ends that I like. I like Fant. I like Jonnu Smith. I like Ben Sinnott. You could even talk me into Hunter Henry. I've been talked out of Cole Kmet because of the usage. I'm worried about him now. But yeah, there are players that I like in this range.
Well, I'll play it further. Like I'm obviously a Packer fan. That needs to be mentioned in every broadcast. I feel like I don't want anything to do with Luke Musgrave this year. I actually think Tucker Kraft is the better tight end on the roster right now. They are drafted both at the same time. Musgrave higher, and maybe Musgrave is more involved as a passer. As a catcher, which is great. But there's real concerns that he can't be anything more than a worse version of Robert Tonyan that one year where he got 10 touchdowns. Like that's the upside scenario for Luke Musgrave. He's not going to be a Sam Laporta. I don't even think he's a Ben Sinnott in the sense that once he starts and gets the main role, he's going to get 6+ catches. So I'd rather have Likely in that scenario, because if Mark Andrews were to miss time, Likely automatically joins that Evan Ingram, David Njoku tier, and Musgrave will not get to that point this season.
Okay. Yeah. It's just the thing with Musgrave is just the timeshare that I'm worried about. Timeshare, and they have so many other pass catchers too. I am up again. Wow, that's fast. I like it. Good.
We talked it all the way through. Yes,
we did. I have options in my queue.
Always good.
Yes. Debating. The tough part there. Yeah. There's certain. I think I am gonna take. Hold on. Yeah, I'm just talking. You talk for a sec while I think.
Well, yeah, and I had mentioned that with Musgrave. I don't think people are really realizing what Tucker Kraft does, and he had the torn bicep early on. So did Elgin and Jenkins. Both those guys are back, and I think Tucker Kraft is going to be ready for week 1. So that matters to me. That if you're splitting time, even if it's Musgrave getting more snaps, it's just enough where they're, as a tight end 18 or 15 or 16, the upside people think is happening with Musgrave. They just want a share of this, the Packers offense, right? That's the concept. It doesn't apply, because I think Tucker Kraft is the guy that you're going after more so.
Yeah. I ended up going with the one more running back in Elijah Mitchell. Good when healthy. But when is he healthy? But and I know Jordan Mason has showed up in the preseason, but I still think Mitchell is a really good player. And I think he could, and Mason's gone too, long gone. So I'll take the cheaper price in Mitchell and hope that if something happens to McCaffrey, that Mitchell is a pretty big part of that there. It's 16th round. But I still think he can play, and I think you are loath to overlook him completely.
I actually think that Elijah Mitchell is going to be a really good running back for somebody else. I wouldn't be surprised if the Niners trade him. I look like the Texans, for example, who have Dameon Pierce and Jawar Jordan behind them, or the Cowboys, whose carcass of Ezekiel Elliott starting, Rico Dowdle, who won't even make a practice squad, I think, next year. Like, they need a backup running back, and Elijah Mitchell would fit perfectly. There's probably 4 or 5 teams. Let's play it out with the Giants, like Devin Singletary, and then what? Tyrone Tracy off the high ankle sprain. That you drafted Isaiah Correndo where you did for the Niners late in the 3rd round tells me that they're planning to move on, and that Jordan Mason has developed where he has. Elijah Mitchell, last year of his rookie deal, they might trade him for a 6th round pick. Who knows?
Yeah. By the way, we have our first 2 kickers, and neither of them's Justin Tucker.
So they're saving them for you. Never mind. I thought they're all being kind to the list love. That's
no. Now he's gone. That's fine. They got to go at some point in time. I'm fine with some of my options here still. I have I'm still thinking kickers and defenses I can still wait on if I want. There's a receiver I still want. There's a tight end I still want. So there's ways I can go here.
I have now done it in, I think, 2 of the past 3 drafts that I've had redraft wise, where I literally don't take a kicker. I'll get a defense, but I'll wait to get the kicker because the kicker that I like, who I think is going to be fantasy impactful, I literally never take my lineup, does not get drafted just about anywhere. He did, of course, get drafted in the stake league because why not?
I remember the conversation that cropped up there.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
do you remember the name?
That typically doesn't value their kicker. I'll just say that.
Yes. I will. I'm actually fine still entering that scenario in a format like this. If you get one more dart throw at running back, I'll be shocked if this kicker is not available, who you can pick up pre-week 1 once you have more information. That's one of those like strategy tips that works some years if you know which kickers you like. This guy, again, I'm not saying the name at the moment because maybe you would consider him whatever else, but they're going to be in a really prominent spot, and it's like no one's really recognizing the potential value for it. So that will be something I do in more leagues, knowing that this guy is just not being sniffed out anywhere. And I'll take a defense, but I might just wait until after the draft to get my kicker.
You can't do that in the NFFC, though.
You have to draft a kicker?
I believe so. I think like Yahoo's the only place where it really allows you to not fill a position. Here you have to.
My fantasy league's letting me do it. I just did it now.
I just did it so fast it makes your head spin. All right.
Are you able, Jeff, to scroll up because we can't see like the round 16 guys right now? Is that possible?
It is possible, but I'm on the clock, so you're all gonna have to wait.
All right. Well, that's you're on the clock with hers. Yeah. I mean, that's the kicker conversation is so funny because Justin Tucker and Brandon Aubrey and those guys go Harrison Butker 4 rounds before a player that I think is going to end up being just as impactful fantasy wise as you can get literally as a free agent. But I could be totally wrong. I don't want to be. Oh, there's my guy. Yeah, let's get Rashad Bateman. Thank you, Jeff.
You're welcome. Still believe. Okay.
You've had to hear me talk about him enough this week that's you've been forced.
I'm channeling my inner Kev Masarajan. Actually, it's not you, Joe. Roto Surgeon. He does like Bateman. He's good there. So yeah, there are choices that I can still have there. But Jonnu Smith just went. I like Jonnu Smith.
Were you considering him over Bateman?
I was considering him because I have one tight end right now. Yes. And he showed up well in the preseason. It's a dynamic offense, at least until November.
I think if I'm following along, the one guy that I still like has not been taken yet, that position. So you can get a little bit cute if you want to. And so many people already have two tight ends
there if I want to go that route.
Yeah. A lot of people have 2 tight ends already. So I don't know. What's the high or farthest you've gotten in this tournament, Jeff? Are you comfortable answering that question?
Yeah.
I think the prime time you got like really far. I know listed
to
that's
top 10 really in the prime time. And going into the final week, I think it was like 4th or 5th, maybe. But I've made. I don't think I've gotten a overall cash in the online.
I didn't either.
League a few times, but that's different.
Yeah, I finished 2nd. And then was in the top 200 of total points, but I don't think that cashed that year for whatever the reason. And in that build, I had 2 tight ends. Like within the first 10 picks, I had George Kittle and Kyle Pitts. And I was wondering if there was like a build that you end up being like, oh yeah, I like this because I did really successful 7 years ago. And I know it's like it's not very helpful or applicable, especially in today's NFL. But I didn't know if there was some biases or tendencies that you lean to in that.
Not really, because every year is different. I think we try to over-litigate the previous year a lot and just try to, I'm guilty of it as everybody else, but let alone trying to do previous years. I mean, waiting on quarterbacks usually serves me well. I will say that. I think that was the year I got Lamar in his breakout for the prime time. That was pretty fun.
Lamar, his breakout, then you had Mahomes the next year. Both were quarterback 10s where they're being drafted. So to everyone's point, with Jaden Daniel, who's now quarterback 10 in a lot of formats, I get the upside. I get the desire to want that guy, a low-end first round who has the potential to be 1-1 at quarterback. It's just they're fundamentally different players. Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels. I can't begin to describe the difference in prospect or difference in player in that scenario.
Yep. KC defense goes. I love the KC defense. I hate that they faced Baltimore and Cincy the first 2 weeks of the season. Although Baltimore and Cincy hate that they faced the Chiefs the first 2 weeks of the season too. But
I can't believe you didn't take my kicker. You went Bengals kicker instead. This is
hard to believe. Shocking. Maybe I'll just go double kicker.
Well, the team 11 that it's Jake Bates, who is going to be this year's Brandon Aubrey, got straight out of the USFL, gets 14 of his 17 games in a dome with the Lions, one of the best offenses in the league. We'll do this right now. We could put a bet down, Jeff, that I think Jake Bates outscores Bengals kicker
Evan McPherson. I'll help you.
There's probably like 5 kickers that you would name other than maybe Tucker and Aubrey. I'd be like, no, I don't want to do that. I think Jake Bates is going to be a top 7 fantasy kicker this year.
He could be. He has a coach that doesn't like kickers, though.
He's going to like one that makes 65-yarders, especially in the NFFC that matter.
He does. Cade York was supposed to be that guy too, and now he's been traded for a 7th-round pick.
Cade York never was a former soccer player that was a USFL guy. Stop it. That's how those kickers are good. Brandon Aubrey is only Brandon Aubrey because he was a former soccer player, then USFL guy. That's how it works.
Okay. That's how it works.
Okay.
The only way it works.
That was the dad treatment.
My man McPherson.
I understand that response.
So that's all. I'm just saying. He was money in the playoffs, and he's money usually with the game on the line. I know that for a fact.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, this draft has been just blowing by. Awesome.
Argue if you're gonna argue about kickers, then I guess we're really running out of things to say too. But that's the other point. Bill agrees with me, though. By the way,
yeah. Well, and then if Bill's agreeing with you, then I probably am on the wrong side. That's
goes for it on 4th down all the time. Though that's the part that I do worry about, though. And goes for 2-point conversions. That's why I don't draft Jake Elliott that much either. 4th down and 2-point conversions. Don't get me wrong. I think it's from a real life standpoint. I think it's fine. I think it's smart. For teams to go for it and embrace analytics. I think John Harbaugh is smart. Even the only thing about that is they have Justin Tucker, who is, of course, Justin Tucker, which is pretty darn good. But yeah.
Well, and the good news is in the case of Brandon Aubrey, like if you're saying, yeah, that's why Brandon Aubrey is one of the best kickers, Mike McCarthy is the furthest you can get from actually analytically smart and correct. I think on the panel today, it was asked who's
better
who's
than
the
that
most,
he used to be, by the way.
Most likely. Well, he is. I would agree. As a Packer fan, I'm aware, but he's still really bad. Who's the most likely coach to get fired first? You answered the correct way, which was Dennis Allen. And I think Doug Peterson's kind of a sneaky answer, too, for the Jags. But somebody had mentioned Mike McCarthy, and I was like, you know what? If things really go awful, Jerry Jones will not want to admit that it's his fault, so he's just going to roll heads however he can. And Mike McCarthy, who already is entering the last year of his deal anyhow, could just be a simple scapegoat for the bad decision that Jerry Jones has made.
It could be. It could very well be. I've got 2 spots left. We're in the 19th round. I have my kicker, and I need to get a defense and a wild card.
Probably need to go defense here because all the people coming after you have not taken the defense yet.
Yeah, that's good intel. Thank you. No, seriously, it is. I have
good.
And Bengals were one of my options, but
yep.
And they have the best week 1 matchup home against the Pats. However, there's another choice, and that is the Seattle Seahawks.
That's the one I take. Yep.
You know who the Seahawks get? Home game against a rookie quarterback and Bo Nix. Then they get the Pats in week 2. They have Mike McDonald, who is we couldn't stop singing the praises of him on the panel today as a brilliant defensive mind. This could end up being a very good defense. No one ever drafts them as such, so it's kind of interesting. I think I'm pretty happy. And the thing is, I'm going to start streaming in week 3, but for the first 2 weeks, I feel pretty confident I've got a good spot.
I'll probably have 90% roster rate on the Seahawks for that exact reason that you get them for 2 weeks. The one deviation is if somebody takes the Seahawks before me, and then I go the Saints who have the Panthers week 1. They just went 2 picks after you. And again, that you might not have had the Seahawks available if that was the case, because with all the teams that needed defense here, you sort of had to be aggressive. So the Seahawks is my absolute layup. I always waited on defense and kicker anyway, but when I can get a combo of Jake Bates, who's going to outscore Evan McPherson this year, and Seahawks defense, who nobody ever seems to draft, there literally is never any reason for me to take anyone else but those 2 with my final 2 picks. Even if I wanted to wait or be sneaky, there's no reason to. Nobody else is going out for either one of those guys.
Right. Yeah. By the way, your boy Bates is still available. I could take him in round 20 and appease you if I wanted to.
You could, but I think Bill is going to because Bill was giving you the deviation. He was saying, "Oh, I don't know. The Lions go for the 4th down just to throw a zag to you, and then he's going to take him." Watch. I'm manifesting it right now.
Bill in the draft.
Bill in his 31st draft is going to take Bates as the kicker.
Yeah. Is Bill even in the draft?
Oh, I don't know. Who's number 1? I thought that was Bill.
No, that's
Goodness, I'm embarrassing myself now.
now. Sorry. I said that out loud. Sorry.
Jeff, I kindly came on here with you. How dare you do this an hour and 20 minutes into me?
It's Mike Sanda. That's team 1.
Okay. Well, Mike is going to do that because he's listening in and knows how
he just took the Packers. He picked the Packers defense, and Bill says he's not in the draft.
Bill, if you were in this draft, you would have nicely taken Jake Bates for me. I'm assuming just tomorrow he'll be another one, and you'll be, that Joe Bartel guy willed that into existence. So there you go. NFFC, I just signed you up for another player with Bill. He's now ready to go for round 20 Jake Bates.
Yeah. Trey Tucker, I've heard that name is an interesting wild card. I like that pick for team 2. There, he's a total boomer bust sort of player from game to game, even. But why not round 20? I've got a couple of similar options there. Denver kicker going for altitude. Who is the Denver kicker now? Anyhow,
for a long time was McManus, who was great, but McManus is on like 2 different teams now. I think he went to the Commanders and then with the Jags now. Yeah.
That's so funny that I don't even know who the Denver kicker is. That's sad.
Mike said that Bill's an amateur. Don't listen to him. So Mike was considering Jake Bates. That's what the confirmation is.
For the Broncos, by the way. Will Lutz, of course.
Oh, I knew that. Yeah, he traded from the Saints, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, because he went along with Peyton, basically. Oh, I'm up again. Hey.
Yep, 30 seconds left.
Plenty of time. Got to catch up on my I was so busy looking to see who the Denver kicker was, and I had to go to Denver.
2K says you need tight end. Did Noah Fant ever make it back? Can you go? Oh, you got to take. No.
Oh, he did not. I'm going to take him.
There we go.
I could take either, actually. So I'm glad I waited.
Yeah.
I could have taken him.
Noah Fant goes way earlier in these. I'm surprised. That was a good call.
He's hurt right now. That's why.
Oh, okay. Well, he's always hurt. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Adam asked, that's the $1 million question, really the $250K question. Do you like your team, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm having fun with it. I like it. I don't love it. I like it.
A 3-word answer is not how I really want to have this. I'm having fun.
I'm tired. I've used a lot of my words.
You have. We all have. I understand where you're at with that. You're right.
Yeah.
Bill, you don't play fantasy football watching us. I can tell you that. Whatever ways we're doing, it's the ineffective way of going about it.
Yeah. So we're getting a 20. By the way, it's a 20-round draft, and we're going to be done in less than an hour 20.
Awesome.
This is a great room.
Yes.
This is really
was fantastic. Yeah.
People are ready. It keeps you on your toes. You don't have as much time to think about your pick. You just have to go because everybody's got that there. Well done, people. 6:18, and we are done. When you're in Vegas and you're kind of running on fumes, that is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Well done, people.
Yeah, so, exactly. I'm right there with you, Jeff. I'm right there with you.
And it also makes for a quicker listen, too, if you're happening to be listening to us. So if you spend some time with us on here, hey, we appreciate you. Thank you. Really appreciate it there. It's fun streaming drafts. I really thoroughly enjoy doing it there. It's one of my favorite things to do when we're doing that there. I like it. I like it a lot. So
Uncle Ted might be the Roshan Johnson guy from last year, but he's also my guy, Jeff. I love that Uncle Ted is there and has been so supportive. All of our I love him. So he might think I'm making fun of him. I'm not. I love seeing him around. And really, we had close to 1,000 people for this live draft. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
For kind of an impromptu thing, like this couldn't be more pleased with the audience and so many people tuning in live for these drafts. It's been great.
Yes, indeed. Thanks, everybody, for listening to this special edition of the RotoWire podcast. Please smash that like button. And if you like what you heard, go to rotowire.com/pod. Get a free trial at RotoWire. You can check out our draft kit, including our rankings, our projections, all of our strategy articles. So much good stuff on there. rotowire.com/pod. We're going to sign off for now. Everybody, thanks for listening. Take care.